Frank Sinatra came up in difficult circumstances, and he was really that one in a million who clawed his way to stardom early in life.
The funny thing about Frank Sinatra is that to many of us, he was sort of the grand old man of music and this sort of respectable figure of the establishment. But there was a time in the 40s where Frank was like the first rock star. It wasn't rock and roll, but everything around it was like rock stardom, because the audience was really young and they were really turned on.
When he played a theater, traffic stopped, the cops had to stop it, and the little girls took over.
Women just went wild about it and sighed and cried. They pulled his clothes off. In fact, his press agent had to buy him breakaway suits, because if he had a good suit, they'd just tear the sleeve right off of it. You can't imagine how popular he was back in those days.
And you can attribute it to a lot of reasons. He had a sensuality, a sexuality, a cool. He sang a song like no one had ever sung a song before.
You're awful, awful good to look at, awful nice to be with.
I think people sang on the surface until Frank Sinatra, but Frank became the guy to whom those words meant everything.
Sinatra always connected with his lyrics like nobody else, and he gave us romance in song.
Women still faint over listening to those love songs, those torch songs that he did, because they believe him. They believe this guy's been bruised and that he's been hurt for real.
I fall in love too fast.
But Sinatra, from 43 to 49, was a very important voice in film musicals. And he made some wonderful ones, particularly Take Me Out to the Ball Game, and On the Town, and then from Joe Pasternak, Anchors Away, where he actually danced and he sang.
What a dish, what a dream, what a dame!
And it was Louis B. Mayer who made him an MGM musical star. But, you know, it all fell apart. He thumbed his nose at Louis B. Mayer. You don't do that. He hated the persona that Louis B. Mayer created for him. A put-upon male, put upon by females. He was shy, a country bumpkin. Can you imagine Sinatra? Shy country bumpkin.
Kiss me. Please, Miss Esterhazy. Just call me Hildy.
He hated this.
Frank says, the hell with it. And his contract wasn't renewed at MGM. And he did a picture at RKO. It was kind of a disaster. It didn't do anything at the box office.
And then he signs a 3-picture deal with Universal. The first one tanked, so they threw him out. So he couldn't get a job.
Also, by the 50s, there's the breakup with Ava Gardner, and he has problems with his voice at one point.
He was singing for Columbia Records in those days, and they dropped him. And for 2 years, he couldn't get arrested. And Frank was very depressed at the time.
There's a lot of ways in which he's beginning to think, do I still have it?
I'm sure there were some people who were waiting for Frank to be over. Pop careers come and go, but the great artists come back time and time again from whatever dip there is. And so, you know, if you thought you were going to beat Sinatra, you were wrong.
So what happens? He makes a comeback in 1953 with From Here to Eternity.
He was desperate for the part in From Here to Eternity. I think he knew that if he could get that part, this would firmly establish him.
The main reason he got that part, he said the magic words, and he says, I'll do it for nothing, which he practically did. You know, he was very determined, and you know, when Frank's determined, he gets his way.
So not only did he get the job, but he was brilliant in the part and proved everybody wrong.
And Academy Award time, he got the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And from 53, he's not only box office, he is critically acclaimed. He is a major movie actor.
The amiable, happy-go-lucky singer of films like Take Me Out to the Ball Game and other musicals of the 1940s was being replaced here by this very serious performer who was not depending on his singing and dancing abilities to get by.
There's much more of a world-weary, world-wizened I've seen it all, I've taken the punches. If I'm going to be happy, it's not going to come easily. And it's interesting that even a comedy like The Tender Trap has this serious side.
And all at once it seems so nice. The folks are throwing shoes and rice.
I think the opening where Sinatra, way in the background, walks forward singing, that's the Sinatra that we know of as the light entertainer, the figure who has not a care in the world. And the film then will be about how he has to start to have cares in the world.
A new persona develops with Sinatra now. Something that comes from his roots. Something that is not given him by the establishment, by MGM, Louis B. Mayer. It's not something that comes from outside of him, from inside. He's from Hoboken, New Jersey, a place where there's blood in the streets. And so now Sinatra can bring the sense of the gutter to his roles in movies. He's always, film after film now, a man who had hard knocks, always trying to fight something in his life.
With films like The Man with the Golden Arm and Some Came Running, he's doing by far and away his most serious acting of his career. However, at the same time, I'm sure Sinatra wanted to preserve his role as a leader of popular culture, as a singer.
And even though his image in singing is of a light entertainer, he's very consciously trying to expand his range and go in new directions.
When he's in the 40s, they were mostly soft love songs. Then he got into the 50s. Those are the years of the swinging Sinatra.
Who wants to corner Cartier's too?
I don't.
And I don't. 'Cause all I want is you.
Once you get to the 50s and the Capitol recordings, Frank Sinatra's influences are disappearing, and his definition of himself is becoming more and more clear.
Frank's voice mellowed and rounded out and matured.
Here's a guy who's been around the block. A lot of Jack Daniels, plenty of cigarettes, a few broken hearts, and you can feel that.
You can feel every bad breakup, every lousy deal, every negative review. Everything he experienced went into that music. Great singers become greater when life kicks them in the ass, and Frank got kicked in the ass a few times.
And his new sound was very different from the crooning style of the past.
Like ba 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 ba. Don't dig that kind of crooning, chum.
You must be one of the newer fellas.
Crooning was sort of the standard approach to singing, which sort of meant you held the notes out for a long time, sometimes as long as possible, and used a lot of vibrato and kind of created a sweet sound to your voice all of the time. And Frank showed us that you don't have to sing that much. You can communicate more without singing so much.
I've no proof when people say you're more or less aloof.
I never felt like he made himself more important than the song he was singing.
You can't throw a song like that away. It's got to have more warmth.
The one thing he said to me is, remember that when you're singing lyrics, you approach the lyrics like a poem. What does it mean? What is it really about? Is it to hold the note 8 bars and prove that you really have great breath control? Or is it about a wonderful, loving moment? That was important to him.
Take a song like I've Got You Under My Skin. The lyric is all about really feeling something. But a lot of people sing a song like that as if they don't really have you under your skin. They're just sort of singing those nice, pretty words and pretty sentiments. When Frank Sinatra recorded I Got You Under My Skin, you knew you were under his skin. And if you screw him over, you could be in trouble. There's always that element of lightness and darkness to the shadings. I think that's what he did. He brought shadings to a song like that.
The way Frank Sinatra works is like a jazz musician, like a great soloist, like Miles Davis or Sonny Rollins or someone like that.
You wonder how it all came about. It's too late now, there's no getting out.
And he always thought about letting things grow and build.
'Cause you're sensational. Sensational. That's all.
At a certain point, he figured out how to apply the vocabulary that he learned from singing with bands, as opposed to just copying another singer. He listened to musicians, and he figured out where they place the notes and how they execute the rhythms, and you feel the rhythmic connection between him and his accompaniment. And that's a rare thing.
Frank Sinatra was always a part of the band. Frank listened to everything that was going on, and he acted and reacted to what everyone was doing. He worked on the magic, the spur of the moment, the feel, the swing. So Frank was always ready to get things in 1 or 2 takes, and never more than 2 or 3 takes, because it started to get contrived when he did it like that.
His recording sessions were like his movies. He was the same old Frank as an actor. He didn't believe in too many takes.
Sometimes he'd just say, now we're going to do 1 take, and that's it, so get ready. We're going to do 1 take. We're not going to do 2, so don't make a mistake.
Ain't this joint the most?
I think it's dull.
Oh, well, we could traipse across the street to another joint.
He felt repetition was a bore and that we should all kick it up.
I'm your girlfriend.
That's something else I want to discuss with you. You're not my girlfriend. I bought you a few drinks, we had a few laughs, I showed you around, but you're not my girlfriend.
Everybody thinks I am.
I don't care what they think.
As an actor, his technique was always spontaneity. He was not in the style of Brando and Montgomery Clift, who were studied in actor studio. He was the guy that said, let's keep it real. To look at, say, On the Waterfront and then look at Man with the Golden Arm, you're seeing 2 entirely different styles. And Sinatra's style, sometimes when you look at it today, rings truer, because he's saying, I'm going for the authenticity.
Stay away from me, punk.
So this is really the great period in terms of his screen career. There was a kind of seriousness of purpose in the way that he chose things during this period.
All right, girls, time for your nap. Beat it. Hey, see you later.
It would be in the 1960s when he would kind of slip back into the easier roles, playing with his pals in the Rat Pack and Ocean's 11.
Don't panic, will you?
He didn't take it seriously anymore. It's unfortunate, but he was still singing. He carries on.
He was intelligent enough to know what a great artist he was musically, and he focused more on music. So when the rock revolution happens, Frank Sinatra survived and endured, and truthfully, I know some of those early rock guys, and most of them love Sinatra because they had taste. I've never heard anyone who didn't think Frank was the coolest.
You're thinking nothing's wrong, you string along, boy, then snap. Those eyes, those sighs, they're part of the tender trap. You see what I mean?
He became the #1 star in the world because he had music and he had movies. And yet Frank wanted to be remembered for his music.
Music was his life, and he loved to get out on that stage and sing his music and hear it come to life.
I saw one of Sinatra's last dates, and he was playing in Long Beach. And afterwards, I was just sort of emotionally so wrung out by how great he was. I went home, and I happened to talk to someone in his camp the next day, and he had gone out, come back to LA, gone to dinner, had a couple drinks, stayed out really late, and I thought, this man, what a life he lived. He was wringing the most out of life, like the way he wrung the most out of a song. He just sort of squeezed it all for all it was worth, and that's why he leaves behind such a rich record.